Welcome our new and special episode on this city, episode number 12. Você pode estar se perguntando por que eu estou falando em outro idioma, né? É porque o episódio número 12 da nossa série Recomendo é o primeiro com um convidado internacional. Ele não fala português e aqui eu preciso fazer um pedido muito grande, muito importante para você. Ative as legendas aqui no YouTube para que você possa acompanhar, porque esse episódio será um grande desafio, porque nós vamos utilizar dois idiomas, já que o nosso convidado não fala português, ok? Então, aguarda um pouquinho, porque agora nós vamos de vinheta. Um episódio especial como este, eu não posso deixar de agradecer aos nossos parceiros, o pessoal que nos ajuda a manter tudo isso funcionando. É o caso da Jovic Store. Estou aqui utilizando essa bonita camiseta da Jovic. Um grande abraço a todos da Jovic. Também é o caso da Bom Paladar, com as suas delícias, e também da Emanuel Instrumentos Musicais, localizados aqui em Austin, os dois aqui em Austin, né? Bom Paladar e também Emanuel. E lá no centro de Nova Iguaçu, a NT Musical, trazendo para você o melhor dos instrumentos musicais e acessórios. Muito obrigado aos nossos parceiros. Today we have a special guest on our episode. First of all, don't forget to add subtitles on YouTube settings. This is so important. Our guest doesn't speak Portuguese, so you need to add subtitles on YouTube settings. It will be a great challenge on this episode because we need to use two different languages. So don't forget, add subtitles on YouTube settings. So let me welcome our special guest on this episode number 12. He's from Montgomery, Alabama, United States, but now he lives in Pensacola, Florida. I'm talking about my dear friend, Peter Nichols. Welcome, Peter.
Yes, my name is Peter Nichols. I'm from the Montgomery area of Alabama in the United States. I currently work in around Pensacola, Florida, which is a beach town. Um, I'm not a musician or a music historian or anything of that nature. However, throughout my life, I've had a pretty strong connection to music, and I love music, and I listen to a lot of music. I like a lot of different styles and genres of music, including rock and roll, of course. I like the classical. I listen to classical music sometimes. I like gospel music. I listen to some blues. I like some jazz music, and there's some others. So I have a lot of interest in music. Music is one of the things that I really enjoy in my life.
Peter, some months ago, we had a workshop online with you when you teach us about worship and the view of American church. At this day, you told me about a musical style new for me called Screamo. I got so interested about this musical style. Could you introduce Screamo to us?
Sure. Screamo is a genre of music that emerged sometime during the 1990s. I believe it began as sort of a subgenre of the emo movement, which is a similar style genre of music. Um, but the name Screamo is kind of an adaptation of the word emo, uh, which more describes this genre because many of the lyrics are screamed or yelled. And so I want to say I think that it started out as a subgenre, but I think today it's its own genre because there's such a large following and there's so many screamo bands. There's a huge number of them in many countries, and so um, they're in fact there are several in the United States that have actually achieved some commercial success. They've made money and they tour uh, all across the country and probably in other countries. And oddly enough, there is a screamo has its own subgenre of music called Christian screamo. These are Christian screamo bands, and so kind of it's kind of an unusual genre. Screamo is. I would say I would say that just like so many other areas of the American culture, we tend to push things to an extreme point or an extreme level, and that's exactly how I would characterize screamo music. It's an extreme form of music.
It's so fun because in Brazil we have this musical style, but here we say emo in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, sorry, we say emo and not emo or screamo. So no problem about this. But Peter, screamo or emo has loud voice, has a characteristic. Could you give us another ones?
Yes, uh, screamo, of course, is known for having harsh screaming vocals. I mean, they literally scream the lyrics while they're singing the songs. And the they often have abrasive or distorted guitar riffs. Uh, the percussion is generally fast or frantic and has oftentimes has irregular time signatures or and really complex rhythms. And the lyrics tend to be themed around anger or pain or alienation. Uh, and so that's pretty much the characteristics of screamo style music.
In Brazil, Peter, this is my opinion, probably the most famous emos band or emos band is NX0 or NX0 in English. Could you please give us some suggestions of emos band from your country?
Yeah, the, there are quite a lot of them. In fact, too many to list. From what I understand, this band Seisha is probably the one of the most influential bands of the entire genre. And I think they had some success real early on back in the 90s. But there's been quite a few others. And just to name a few, there's let's see, Orchid, Touche Amour, Under Oath, I Hate Myself, Silverstein, Envy, Quiet Fear. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And so there's so many.
Peter, it's a great honor to receive you on my channel and city. You always will be welcome here in Rio, at my house, on my family. God bless you, brother. Thanks for sharing something so special about Screamo. It's a great honor for us. Bye bye, and a big hug from Rio.
Um, yeah. Well, I guess the first time I ever heard of anything about screamo music was in church. As it turns out, um, where I used to attend church in Montgomery, they had a huge it was a huge church, and they had a huge sanctuary, and oftentimes they hosted bands, Christian bands, to come and play in the church. And so there was one man in the church whose son was part of a band, a Christian band, and they were trying to uh, have a concert in Montgomery, and they wanted to have it at the church. And so the gentleman went to the some of the elders of the church and was asking, can we have this rock concert here at the church? And so some of the elders listened to the style of music, and they didn't want to allow it because it was a screamo band, it was a Christian screamo band. They didn't really feel comfortable with that style of music in the church, and so I can kind of understand that because screamo doesn't really seemed like the best method to get the Christian point across. So, but that's just my opinion. Um, Sometime later, some years later, when my son got old enough to drive a car, we got in my car, and I was going to go somewhere with him one day. I got in his car, and he turns the radio on, and here comes this blaring music that I had never heard before. Uh, and I said, "Wait, what is this?" And he said, "That's my band. That's the band he listened to." And the name of the band was Asking Alexandria, a Screamo band. And so I couldn't understand a word what they were screaming. And so that was kind of the second time I got introduced to Screamo music, and so that's how I became aware of it. And even to this day, my son, he still listens to this band. It's his favorite band. And so I'd just like to say also, it's been my pleasure to be here with you today, Leo. And thank you for having me on the Leonardo Nascimento channel. Goodbye.